And this afternoon, let's talk about transport fares, because the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, says it has no intentions of reducing transport fares in spite of the decline in fuel prices at the pumps. Already between 3% to some 5% of reduction is being experienced at the pumps after fuel prices slumped on the world market. It's beginning to have an effect on the Ghanaian market, raising calls by some commuters that there's a need for an urgent adjustment of the transport fares. Let's listen to some Ghanaians early on the streets of Accra today who spoke to Joy News about the need for a revision of the transport fares.
It came from the Road Transport Coordinating Council. They used to reduce the transportation fares and increase it when it's necessary. But the other time when the decline came, when they said we should reduce the lorry fares and everything should be reduced, it was only transportation which gone down. All the other spare parts, water, pure water, everything was food, everything in standstill. You see, some 6 months ago, I used to buy this tie that I'm using at the Manka, 180 cedis, the maximum 220. Last week I went and buy one. It was 450 cedis.
But you know that still things are also hard. Like first of all, they said if the fuel price come down, they would deduct it for us. But still now we know that still the fuel is coming down. But I want to ask, if you said we will deduct the lorry fare, it would affect us. The reason why I'm saying that is that the government said if things go down, everything will be down. Plantain will be down, egg will be down, yogurt, everything will be down. But our own, we are listening to the government, we come down. But still egg and other things are still top. So if you people said we still let us come down, I think it's cheating.
Before we increase our lorry fare, and they reduce it, and they told us that we should reduce it. Immediately we reduce it, they increase it 50 pesos. They put 50 pesos on the fuel. And now they have reduced 20 pesos, and they are telling us that we should reduce our lorry fare again. That's not possible. The government is cheating on us. I can say it's point blank. I can tell you straightforward. You tell us to reduce, and when you reduce, we obey you. You know you are a leader. But if the leaders is doing something and it's not good, you need to tell them. I'm a driver. I've driven for 15 years now, but I'm a young guy. But what they are doing now, when they tell us that we should reduce lorry fare, we are going to bear the cost. Because when it goes to the market, the prices are going high. There's past everything. Yesterday I bought something. Right now, ask for it again. 50% of increase. That's not good. So if you tell us that we should reduce our lorry fare, that's not going to happen.
My question is that the fuel prices, they have been increasing and deducting. So now that they reduce it, if you also reduce the lorry fare, and by 3 days time or 1 week time, they increase it again. Should we increase the fare again? We can't do that. So we can't be doing that. We can't be increasing and depreciating, increasing. You can't be doing that. You understand? If it has been going down and down and down into a certain level, we have to also decrease the fare. But when they bring it out, we have to also bring.
Well, so there's some drivers on the streets of Accra. Can I hear from commuters make the case for a reduction in the transport fares?
Yeah, so there be a sound of there be a 8 months. Nay, a lot of from starting from lockdown. You fully pay me, so you told the book, you are passing to the Koba. There be a driver from Kuana. You told all the first, so not the piano, a bass, and two.
And so spare parts there, no turn to pure water. 50 pesos sound or ton will be on a so tofu for an 10 cedi. And the driver from one of the Yanti so. I'm a dad, I say, Yatu is so. And Yatsu swap Masapaja. And this Uber saying, I want to spare parts.
What I'm saying is, whenever the fuel price increases, they usually increase the fare. As long as it has come down, the fare must also come down that way. That is my view.
Yes, because the fuel is come down. So we need government to see the transport owners to reduce the transport fares for us. We are suffering because the country is too hard for us now. So we want the government to see the owners of the transport to reduce the fuel for us.
You see, formerly it was around 23, and it came down to 15, and there was a reduction. So from 23 to 15, and reduction, I think it was called for. But from 15 to 12, I don't think it is proper, because still prices in the market are also high. So I don't think from 15 to 12 there's a need for reduction. But at least if you get to 10, then that would be okay for us, the person.
At least if the fuel price comes to about 10 cedis a liter, you understand, there will be a justification in running down the cost of the transport fare, because there are spare parts. Day in, day out, things are going up. So it will not do fair treatment to the transport owners if they say they should reduce the transport fare.
Well, so some commuters there, I want to bring in now Samuel Amwa, who's, of course, a member of the National Communications Team for the GPRTU. Thank you, Sami, for your time here on The Pulse. Isaac Ofie is data analyst with the Joy Newsroom. Isaac, let's deal with, first of all, the consistent decline in the prices of fuel on at the pumps. What's the trajectory telling us?
So if you look at fuel prices, for instance, comparing what we experienced about 4 months ago, that's November 2022, where we saw prices of both petrol and diesel all going up. So you could sell petrol for 19 cedis per liter, and then also diesel was going for 23 cedis. So if you look at the current price, which is averaging around 13 cedis per liter, then we are looking at a very significant reduction. Probably that's the reason why commuters are calling for, a reduction in transport fares, because they believe that when fuel prices were going up, GPRT also came in to make sure that they increased the transport fares to offset the kind of losses that they were experiencing. So if you're having fuel price to go down about 70%, then they also want, a reduction in transport.
How about prices on the global front? How are the oil products performing on the world market?
So the first thing we have to look at is, the crude prices, for instance. Per barrel, about a year ago, was still selling around $120 per barrel. Now we are doing around, $67 dollars per barrel. And if you compare this to the last time we experienced such a very low price of crude, it's about 3 years ago. That was November 2021. That's when we had anything close to 67%. But currently, if you compare what we are experiencing to what we experienced last year was around $120 per barrel. Now it is $67 per barrel. So if you look at it, Ghana isn't the only country currently experiencing a drop in fuel prices. It is across board. It's being diffused everywhere. Other countries are also experiencing, because we have the reduction in crude prices. And then also, the government is also explaining that the gold for oil deal is currently helping to stabilize the price of the fuel.
Let's go back and look at the demands of GPRT at the time. They were making a demand for somewhere 15%, correct, in terms of increment. Just opposing that to what's happening to the fuel prices now, I mean, predictably, how much should we be looking at possibly in terms of a reduction if this road transport unions would agree that indeed we reduce the prices.
So I would want to compare about 4 months ago when JPRT came in to reduce prices by 19%. If you compare that period to now, the last time there was a reduction in fuel price was around 19%. If you compare that period to what we have right now, fuel prices have actually reduced by 70%. Transport fares have been reduced by 19%. So there's this huge difference. But of course, you can also make this claim that we are not only looking at fuel price, we are looking at spare parts and other things. We are looking at the CD, the exchange rate depreciation, inflation, so many things also affecting the drivers. But commuters also feel that the last time you reduced your price was about 4 months ago. It was 19%. Since that time, fuel prices have dropped by 70%. So if we should do the computation, then you should give us some room of cushion. You should cushion us. You get it? Because 19% against 70%, the difference is huge, although you may talk about other factors. But we feel, or commuters feel, that if we should do the math now, they should give commuters about 15%.
15%. Okay, let's see if that's realistic. Isaac Kofi, thank you for joining us with the latest. Let's hear from Samuel Amwa. Samuel Amwa speaks for GPRTU. Thank you for joining us. So 15% reduction, is that possible now as we speak?
You are talking of, you mentioned a figure. Is it how much percentage?
15.
Reduction on fare or on petroleum product?
Realistically speaking, 15.
I want to be clear.
Realistically speaking, 15.
15 reduction on transport fares. Is that not what you're saying?
Yeah, precisely.
At the current state, right? Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kofi. What is happening right now is, we've been hearing this, that our clients are calling in that we should reduce our transport fares. The thing is, per our calculations, from the time we reduce our transport fares by 15.3, by then the fuel price was around 16.10. That was when we reduced it by 15.3. All right. The whole thing started from when it got to 23 cities, 49 pesos. Then it started declining. When it was coming down, it got to around 18 cities, between 18 and 17 thereabout. Then there was this call that we should reduce it. We made our calculations and we made them understood that we can't just reduce the transport fares, because we always have a margin that when we went for this negotiation that we increased our fares by 20%, by then the fuel price was 15.99. That was when we had a 20% increment. Now that it was coming down from the 23.49, we were expecting that it should get to this 15.99 before we can also think of reducing the transport fares. And lo and behold, when it got to 16.9, the transport ministry called, and then we judged, or at the end of the day, we agreed and we reduced it by 15.3.
Okay, but 15.3, many are asking for a reduction. So how much are you willing to concede? At least we're seeing that at the pumps, the prices are declining. Yes, Sami, if you can hear me, I'm just saying that.
Kofi, are you with me?
Yes, but I'm just asking what concessions you're willing to make at this moment. Even if you won't give the 15%, how much will you give?
At the moment, if we are to think of reducing our transport fares, then we want to see the fuel price coming down to around 11 cedis a litre, because that was where it was before we had our first increment. We had our first 20% increment before it went up to the 15.99 before we did another increment again. So now, if we do our calculations and per where it is now, and per other components where it is now, if we are to reduce our transport fares now, then it means that our businesses are going to collapse. Because now, go to spare parts market and go and check what is happening there. Go to the lubricants and check what is happening there. Now, insurance is very high. There have been 30% increments of insurances. So now that the fuel price is coming down, yes, we are all praying that it should come down to a level that we can also think of reducing our transport fares. Because normally I used to say this, whenever the fares are down, the patronization also goes high. You see everybody, coming to the trotro stations to board vehicles. So it's all our prayer that the fuel price will still come down. Then we also think of reducing the fare. But as it is now, the GPRTU cannot, reduce transport fares until we see the fuel price coming down to around 11 cities. Then we also check on the other components.
Okay, but why not think of why not open to the idea that you reduce as we go? At least there's a reduction, you agree?
Yes, Kofi. You see, that is not the system. You see, let me explain something for you and your viewers to understand this. When the fuel price was around 11 cities, 30 pesos, that we had our first 20% increment, it went up to 12 cities plus. We didn't increase. Up to 13 cities, we didn't increase. Up to 14, until it got to 15.99 before we had our 20% increment. The agreement we have with the transport ministry or the government is that whenever the fuel price is being increased by 10% threshold, then we, the transporters, also have to come and think of increasing our transport fares from the 11.30 to the 15.99. But then the increment was 42% and over. That means if we were to increase our transport.
Hello, Sami. It appears we're having some challenges connecting to Samuel Amwa there. But of course, the point is being made that until we get to 11 Ghana cities to a litre, obviously TPRTU would not agree on that. But Sami, let's explore the way forward now. I'm just wondering what will be happening in your commercial vehicles in the coming days, because the pressure is mounting. A lot of people would then be involved in some sort of exchanges with your conductors, because they would simply not understand why prices are coming down at the pumps. And we're not
are you with me?
I'm with you. I'm just saying that in the coming days, what we are likely to experience is that a lot more of the commuters, people who patronize your services, may be involved in some sort of an exchange with the conductors, the mates in the trotro vehicles. I'm just asking if you've spoken to your members to at least come down and negotiate with those who may be coming in for your services.
Yes, Kofi, what you are saying is true. It's a matter of taking our time to explain to our clients, for them to understand that it's not a matter of we may be.
Okay. P.S. we've lost Samuel Amwa there. We'll definitely reconnect with him later on as the conversation progresses. But still on roads and transport, the Finance Ministry is giving an indication that they are yet to come to the final modality regarding issues on road tolls. Of course, there was widespread and public backlash when an internal memo was leaked on social media indicating that the Finance Ministry was making arrangements to bring back the revenue measure the government collapsed and instead brought in its stead the electronic transactions levy. We can now listen to Deputy Roads and Highways Minister Stephen Jalula, who was on the probe last weekend, indicating why possibly this road toll is being reintroduced.
When the e-levy came in, the government decided that the road tolls were going to be scrapped. Okay, so, but even before that particular budget was approved, there was chaos on all our tolling booths. So my boss thought it wise that there was no need for a life to be lost before this happened. And we knew that the good Parliament was going to, give us the approval. So he wrote that it should be suspended. Okay, road tolls were only suspended pending the approval of the budget. Yes, we used to get around 78 million per year, and that's a lot of money and can do something. But then in the e-levy was a component of a chunk of money. If we had approved e-levy at that decision, and if the e-levy had worked the way it was conceived, I'm sure that we will not be talking about this today. But unfortunately, the e-levy failed us. It didn't work out the way we planned it. And that is why we are not talking about it. I know that over time, decision makers, the cabinet, the president, his cabinet will come out again. If you are to introduce road tolls, why not? If you feel that we should, but let me also say that road tolls in Ghana was the list in the sub-region. You paid
in terms of how much
we paid.
Okay.
We paid 50 pesos. Meanwhile, they said, you pay 50 pesos, but you want to have quality roads like we see in the advanced countries. It's very difficult.
Well, the Finance Ministry has indicated that it is yet to come out with final modalities relating to that. On your screens now, you have excerpts of that statement released by the Finance Ministry indicating their position on possibly why there's a reintroduction of the road tolls. We'll just bring that to you. It indicates that the Ministry of Finance, the attention of the Ministry of Finance has been drawn to a leaked letter circulating in the media space from the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Roads and Highways on the reintroduction of road tolls. The letter sought to convey proposed rates for the tolling of roads and highways to the Ministry of Roads and Highways as part of the broader consultations on revenue penetration policy. Now, similarly, government is in consultation with other relevant stakeholders, and their inputs will be considered before the final implementation of the modalities on the road toll. Now, the reintroduction of the road toll is a fiscal policy measure that is captured in the 2023 budget statement and economic policy to support the revenue generation of government, and the ministry is indicating that they are entreating the media to be circumspecting their reportage on the leaked letter and also rates included in the letter are only proposals subject to the consultations and approvals at appropriate levels. Now, as a ministry, our doors are open to the general public, and we call on all stakeholders, especially the media, to engage us on issues relating to policies coming from the ministry. So that's the indication we're getting from the Finance Ministry on this. The road toll workers are alarmed that many of their members may lose their jobs, given the fact that government is not coming clear on this directive. What's their concern? We'll explore that when we return after this break. Please stay.